Hey, what is up guys, I'm your boy Nick with Pick My Man. In this video we're going to be going over all the full card for LFA 171. We have a pretty good card coming up. The main card I'm really hyped about. I don't know about the prelims. I was able to do some tape study on the most of the prelim fighters, so let's get right into it guys. Before we get right into it, my pick accuracy for LFA is 73%. I know someone was wondering what our pick accuracy was, so it's 73.13% for LFA on Tapology. Let's get right into it guys. Alright guys, so we're gonna go from the top of the card to the bottom. This is the main event of the evening guys. We have Eduardo Neves taking on Hugo Cunha. Let's get right into it guys. Eduardo Neves is 23 years old, 6 feet 2 inches tall with a 78.5 inch reach. He trains out of Eduardo Machado team. I think that's his own gym that he trains out of. And he's gonna be taking on Hugo Cunha. Hugo Cunha is 7-1 overall. He's 30 years old, 6 feet 4 inches tall. With his reach is unavailable here, but he trains at a Tata fight team. Tata fight team. Let's get into the notes, guys. So we have Hugo Cunha. He's pretty well rounded. He can strike if he needs to. He can wrestle also. He throws nice jabs, heavy leg kicks, body kicks, teep kicks. Throws pretty much everything you can think of. He's got some nasty knees in the clinch too. He puts pressure on his opponents, walks them down, but sometimes he's more than willing to fight on the back foot and be the counter puncher. He will throw some nice feints out there before throwing anything. His striking defense needs a lot of work. He does get hit a lot, but he has the high guard up, which leaves his body open to kicks and knees. He has shown a pretty good chin so far, good durability. He's not a guy that's gonna quit on himself. He has heavy top pressure. When he gets in top position, he will move into mount and then throw some nasty ground and pound from there and find the stoppage. He has shown pretty good takedown defense. He will dig some underhooks. If you put pressure on him, he will change levels and take you down. He has not faced the best level of competition so far. In the fight where he lost by split decision. He won the first round. He was dominating the first round, but then he slowed down in the second round. And then he even though he got some takedowns in the second, third round, it just wasn't enough. He wasn't able to do much with the takedowns, and his opponent outworked him on the feet, and he just didn't have much for his opponent on the feet. He was slowing down. He's got pretty bad cardio. I think the guy that beat him was Dustin Johnson. Outstruck him in the striking and took that decision by a split decision. So he does slow down after the first round if he cannot get the early stoppage. Alright guys, let's talk about his opponent Eduardo Neves now. Eduardo Neves is a striker. He has decent kickboxing skills. We have seen him fight on Dana White Contender Series. If you guys watch Dana White Contender Series, you guys will probably have seen him twice fight on Dana White Contender Series. But he wasn't able to get the contract both times. He has horrible cardio. His durability is not that good either. He has fought against a better level of competition so far. In his last fight, he fought a legit glory kickboxer. He did get dropped with a jab, which is not a good look. I think his chin isn't that good because he got dropped by a soft jab from the kickboxer. In his first Contender Series fight, he was doing pretty good in the first round before he gassed out and let Mick Parkin get on top of him and get that submission. He is still very young though. He's only 22, 23 years old. He will eventually make some improvement as he gets into his prime. He's undefeated in the LFA cage, so I feel it is just the higher level guys that are able to give him some problems. He needs to work on his striking defense and cardio. He does need a lot of work on his cardio and striking defense. So both of his losses are to legit UFC fighters. Mick Parkin has been doing well in the UFC, and Denise will likely make his UFC debut next year because I don't think he has a fight booked this year. So his only two losses are to two undefeated UFC fighters. I've not been very impressed by Cunha. Both of these guys have horrible cardio. Cunha has better durability and is the guy that doesn't quit on himself. So it's a very hard fight to pick who's gonna win this fight. But Eduardo Neves, I mean, he's done well every time he fights in LFA. He's 3-0 in LFA. It's just whenever he takes that jump up in competition. I mean, he even beat Hugo Silva. Hugo Silva is 8-1. So I'm gonna go with underdog here. I think Eduardo Neves. I think it's just the higher level guys in the UFC that give him problems on the Dana White Contender Series. I think he can still go back to LFA and get a win here, because he was able to go back after the Contender Series fight, go back into LFA and get a win over undefeated Hugo Silva, who was undefeated and who's 8-1 now. So I think he can still go back to LFA and get a win. I'm gonna go with Eduardo Neves by. Does he get a knockout? I'm gonna say a knockout. Second on knockout for Eduardo Neves. That's my pick, guys, for this fight. Guys, next up in the co-main event of the evening, guys, we have the LFA Interim Lightweight Championship title on the line. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to find any tape on Gabriel Costa, even though he's fought in LFA. I wasn't able to find any tape on him, even on the UFC Fight Pass or YouTube channel or anything like that. I know he's competed in the grappling before, so that's the only footage I was able to find. But it's very odd that I wasn't able to find any fight tape on him. Anyways, Gabriel Costa is going to be going up against Jefferson Nascimento, and I was able to find some tape on Nascimento. Anyways, guys, so we have Gabriel Costa, who's 8-0 undefeated at 22 years old, at 6 feet 1 inch tall. So he's very tall for the weight class. He's going to have a big height advantage here. He's going to be taking on Jefferson Nascimento, who's 10-0 undefeated. Fights out of Brazil. Also, both these guys are Brazil, and he's 5 feet 7 inch tall. So he's a little bit smaller. His reach is unavailable. I think both of their reach is unavailable right now. Let's get into it, guys. So I was only able to find tape on Nascimento, so I'm going to talk about Nascimento. So Jefferson Nascimento, he's a very good striker. He stays light on his feet. He is a pretty good technical striker. He has a brown belt in judo and Brazilian jiu-jitsu. He's very well-rounded. He can finish the fight on the feet and with a knockout, or find a submission on the ground, or he can also win if the fights go to the scorecards. He does stay moving and doesn't stay in one place for too long. He can really frustrate some of his opponents by staying moving and not letting them, making it hard for them to set anything up, or making it hard for them to land any meaningful shots on him. I like his movement a lot. He has heavy hands. If he lands clean, he can put you out, put you to sleep. He also does good work in the clinch against the cage. He can hold you against the cage for a long time and just run the clock. Doesn't have the best takedowns. He can sometimes end up on his back when he's trying to throw his opponents with that judo throw. In his last fight, it was a split decision because he slipped at the end of the round 1 and round 2, gave up takedowns, and let his opponent end the rounds on top of him, which could be a problem. When he does get back up, he will be aggressive and put the pressure and land some good shots on his opponents. In his fight in Suto, Brazil, he dominated in the first round on the feet and landed and on the ground, and then found a beautiful anaconda choke. He's got a lot of tools on his toolboxes, and I think I haven't really seen any fight tape on Gabriel Costa, but I like what I see from Nascimento here. I think he's more well-rounded here, and I think he's fought the better level of competition so far, and I think he gets it done. I'm going to say he gets it done by... does he get a knockout? I'm going to say he gets a decision. I think a lot of people think it's going to be a decision. I think it's going to be a unanimous decision for Nascimento. That's my pick, guys, for this fight. Guys, next up we have the featured fight on the prelims. We have a flyweight matchup between Alisson Murilo taking on Marcos Degli. I think that's how you say his name. Let's get right into it, guys. We have Murilo. He is 9-1 overall, 5-0 in his last 5 fights. He's 23 years old, 5 feet 6 inches tall. He trains at a Chute Box Monstro with I think Jennifer Maia trains there too. Jennifer Maia fights in the UFC. He's going to be taking on Marcos, guys. Marcos Degli. He's 9-3 overall. He's 23 years old, 5 feet 6 inches tall. He trains at a Valle top team. Let's get into the notes, guys. So let's talk about Murilo first. He's had 14 amateur fights, so that is a lot of experience before going pro for him. He went 10-4 in the amateurs. All 4 of his losses coming by a decision. So he's very tough. Never been finished before. He went pro back at the end of 2020. So he has been very active since then, fighting 10 times in the last 2 or 3 years. He's a versatile striker, throws everything you can think of. He can get taken down sometimes, but he won't settle for bottom position for long. But before he gets back up, he will look for submissions off his back. But if he can't get them, he's not gonna just stay on his back. He's gonna work his way back up right away, which I like to see from guys. I like his striking a lot. He will go to the body, mix it in with some knees, some nasty elbows. He seems very crisp and polished when he throws his hands. He has shown pretty good cardio. I have not seen him slow down all that much. Even later in fights, you can tell he works on his conditioning a lot. He will end the rounds with his own takedowns just to put a stamp on it. If you get too aggressive and start throwing hands at him, he's gonna just change levels and take you down. Anyways, his striking defense is pretty good. He doesn't take a lot of damage and has good head movement. He stays just at a range where you can't touch him and he can land on you. But even when he does get hit, he has shown good composure. He doesn't shell up or anything like that. Let's talk about his opponent now, Marcos Degli. Yeah, he's had 3 amateur fights. He's had an amateur experience also. He beat Andre Lima back in 2020. You guys remember Andre Lima? He got a UFC contract on the week 10th. I think it was the last week of the Dynamite Contender Series this year. And Marcos beat him by 30-27 in the amateurs. I think Lima was his last fight in the amateurs, 3rd fight in the amateurs. And that's a huge W for him over a guy like Andre Lima, who's undefeated and now in the UFC. And Marcos has fought a very good level of competition in his whole MMA career. In his first pro fight, he lost a split decision to Davy Costa. You guys remember Davy Costa? We also saw him on the same episode. Davy Costa won the first round against Lucas Rocha, and then he got flying knee. I think it was a knee that he got knocked out by a flying knee from Lucas Rocha. That was absolutely vicious. Anyways, so the only guy to finish Marcos Degli was Felipe Dos Santos. You guys remember Felipe Dos Santos? He fought on that Israel Adesanya versus Strickland card. He fought Manel Cap. So he lost to Manel Dos Santos. Felipe Dos Santos was the only guy to ever finish a guy like Marcos Degli. No shame losing to no shame losing to Felipe Dos Santos or getting finished by him. Felipe Dos Santos is a very good UFC prospect now. Anyway, so since losing to him, he's on a 7-5 win streak now. He's a technical striker. He has very good kicks. He can whip his kicks out like nothing. I've seen him put people out to sleep with those head kicks. He sleeps people with his flying knees. He even sleeps people with elbows. He's super dangerous and has a 100% finish rate. Anyways, he's shown a good durability. He has a good chin, has good composure. When he eats a big shot, he's never been knocked out before. He's only been submitted once by Felipe Dos Santos, who's a UFC flyweight, probably ranked flyweight now, because he had a very competitive fight with Manel Cap. So you gotta expect Felipe Dos Santos he's gotta be ranked soon. Anyways, I think Marcos Degli can win this fight, man. I know a lot of people are counting him out here. I think a lot of people think that Murilo just gonna run through him or beat him by 30-27 maybe. Only 15% people picking Degli. I'm gonna take Degli here. I think I like what I see from him. He's super aggressive. I think he's fought the better level of competition too. And I'm gonna go against the grain here. I'm gonna pick Degli here. I like him here, guys. I think he can finish Murilo maybe or just get a decision. I know Murilo has never been finished before. He's lost once by decision. But this dude is super aggressive, man. He's fought the much better level of competition. This is the guy that I was talking about. He beat Andre Lima. This guy. You guys remember this guy on the Dynamite Contender Series this year? He picked up a good win on Dynamite Contender Series at 30-27 over Rickson. This guy. Yeah. So this dude beating Andre Lima, I mean, that's a huge W for him. I think people are sleeping on him in this fight. I mean, I like him here. I think he gets a job done. I'm going to say he gets a knockout in the second round. Alright guys, next up at featherweight, we have another really good matchup between Márcio Barbosa taking on Gian Sarturi. Let's get right into that. This is going to be a banger matchup. I'm really hyped for this matchup. We have Márcio Barbosa. He's faced a really good level of competition, much better than his opponent here. Márcio Barbosa competed in LFA twice. He's got 11 wins by knockout. I mean, this dude is an absolute super dangerous for the striking. He's been knocked out twice, but he's been knocked out by Gabriel Santos, who's in the UFC now. I mean, Gabriel Santos, I thought he won the fight against Leron Murphy. That was in London, but they gave it away to Leron Murphy. Leron Murphy's undefeated 13-0 prospect, so and then he got knocked out by David Inama before he was beating David Inama up. So no shame losing to Gabriel Santos. And then his other knockout loss was to Luis Felipe, who's 17-7. Other than that, he's beaten some good opponents. He's beaten these 11-7 guys. He's beaten a lot of Brazilian prospects. I think he beat him twice. Yeah, Gabriel Oliveira, who's 1-5, not the best. I mean, he's beat this guy 13-3. I mean, this dude was what? He beat him as an underdog. He was a plus 165 underdog, and he was able to get the job done there. So I think people were sleeping on him because he got knocked out by Gabriel Santos. So I think people were fading him, and then he was able to come back and as a plus 165 underdog and beat Wellington Prado up, who was 13-2 at the time. So I mean, this dude, he's an absolute junkyard dog, man. He's gonna go out there. He's a kill or be killed fighter. He's only gone to decision once, and that was a long time ago when he went to decision. I think back in 2021 against Ronaldo Jr. So I think I like him here he's got really good striking. He's got heavy hands, and he throws everything with fight-ending power. And he's gonna be taking on Gian, Sarturi. I forgot to read the stats, guys. Let's go through the stats. Márcio Barbosa is 14-2 overall. He's 4-1 in his last 5 fights. His only loss in his last 5 fights is to the UFC fighter Gabriel Santos, who was 8-0 undefeated at the time, and he was knocked out in the second round there. But he was having success in the first round. I remember watching that fight. He dropped Gabriel Santos a couple of times, if I remember correctly, but he did hurt him a couple of times. But Gabriel Santos is an absolute junkyard dog too, so no shame losing to Gabriel Santos there. Other than that, he's finished everyone else. I mean, and then he's coming off a really big win over Wellington Prado. He's only 25 years old, so he's got a lot of time to still get into his prime. He trains out of a RD Championship. He's 25 years old, 5 feet 7 inches tall. He's gonna be taking on Sarturi, who's 8-2 overall, 30 years old, 5 feet 8 inches tall, with a training out of Renzo Farias team, and he's 5-0 in his last 5 fights. But he has not faced the best level of competition. He has finished every one of his wins. He's got 8 wins by knockout, 2 wins. He's got 2 losses by knockout. So he's never gone to. He doesn't have any ground skills, and he's never gone to decision. But the promotion that he's fought for is very low level. HFT. I've never heard of them before. I'm gonna go with the Márcio Barbosa. I think he's way more experienced than him, and he's only 25 years old. He's got the youth advantage here, and he's fought the better level of competition. I think Barbosa is gonna knock him out, and I think everyone agrees. But this is a closer fight than people think, because this dude can throw his hands. He's got power in his hands too, so don't sleep on him. And he's 1 inch bigger too. But I just like Márcio Barbosa here. I think he gets the job done by knockout in the second round, I'm gonna say. Hey guys, next up at heavyweight, we have another really good matchup between Jose Augusto taking on Richard Jacobi. Let's get right into it, guys. So Jose Augusto is 8-4 in his MMA career. He's 3-2 in his last 5 fights. He's 31 years old, 6 feet 3 inches tall, with a 73-inch reach. He trains out of Pitbull Brothers. He's gonna be taking on Richard Jacobi, who's 7-1-1 in his MMA career. He's I think 3-1-1 in his last 5 fights. He's 30 years old, 1 year younger than Augusto here, and he's 6 feet 4 inches tall with a 75.5-inch reach. He trains out of Chute Box Monstro with I think also Jennifer Maya and them. Jennifer Maya trains there too. A lot of other prospects train there too. It's a pretty good gym to train out of. Anyways, let's talk about that. I have some notes on this fight. So Jose Augusto, you guys remember him? You guys probably seen him in Bellator before. He's fought 4 times in Bellator. He has fought against the legend Anthony Johnson. Rest in peace, Anthony Johnson. Anyways, he got submitted by him, but he was having a competitive fight in the first 2 rounds. No shame losing to Anthony Johnson, the legend. Anyways, he's a pretty good striker. He's willing to throw some nasty flying knees. He almost slept Polizzi with that flying knee, but then somehow Polizzi was able to survive the first 2 rounds and then come back and then get a deep. I think he submitted Augusto in the 3rd round because Augusto gassed out. Anyways, Augusto is very dangerous in the first 2 rounds, but after that he can gas out. He went pro back in 2012, has had some long layoffs in between his fights. He only has had 12 fights in the last decade. Most of his fights end inside the distance. He's had only seen the scorecards once, but that was in his last fight, which was in Bellator, where he picked up a unanimous decision win over a 9-2 Simon Biang. I'm not sure why the Bellator let him go, because he's a pretty good fighter, but now he's making his LFA debut in this fight. Let's talk about his opponent, Richard Jacobi. Richard Jacobi has a kickboxing background, competed in kickboxing back in 2017. He did lose that fight in kickboxing. He's lost both of those fights. He went pro in MMA back in 2021. He has been very active since. He's had 9 pro MMA fights in the last 2 years or so. His only loss came against the former NFL football player Austin Lane. You guys remember Austin Lane? He got slept by Justin Tafa, I think it was. Yeah, a lot of people are picking Austin Lane against the Tafa brothers. Don't fade the Tafa. The Tafas are a different breed. Anyways, that fight was on Dana White Contender Series, but he was having some success against Austin Lane. He clipped Austin Lane a couple of times in the first round, but then he went for a stupid takedown on Austin Lane. Austin Lane was able to flip him, get on top of him, and knock him out with a crazy ground and pound, and he slept him. Anyways, he took him down with the body lock, so that's what he uses to get the takedowns. But he doesn't have much of a ground game of his own. But I don't know why he went for the takedown. That was pretty dumb. He's got some negative fight IQ. Anyways, most of his wins are over opponents with negative records. In his first fight in LFA, he went to a draw with the Hugo Silva, who was 8-4-0 at the time. And Hugo Silva is 8-1 now, so no shame losing to going to draw with Hugo Silva. Anyways, Richard Jacobi is mainly a striker who will go for takedowns from time to time. He throws heavy punches. He has 5 wins by knockout, none by submission, and 2 wins by decision. Who I'm gonna pick in this fight? I'm gonna pick Jose Augusto. I think he's just fought a better level of competition. He fought Anthony Johnson, man. I mean, that's gotta count for something. And then he fought Alex Polizzi. He had Alex Polizzi in all sorts of trouble before he got rear naked choked in the 3rd round. And if this fight goes in the 3rd round, I think I'm gonna be worried about Jose Augusto. But in the first 2 rounds, Jose Augusto is super dangerous with his striking. And he picked up a really good win over Simon, who was 9-2 at the time. And I think he was underdog in that fight too, if I remember correctly. Yeah, he was a slight underdog at -105. And everyone's picking against him. Only 12% people picked him there. I'm going to pick Augusto here. I think he's going to win this fight. Everyone's 73% people are picking Augusto. I'm going to pick Augusto by knockout. Or maybe a submission. I mean, he can get a submission too. I'm going to pick him by submission. Jose Augusto by submission. I think if Richard Jacobi goes for a super takedown, Jose Augusto could get his back and maybe get an armbar or something. That's my pick. My pick is Jose Augusto by submission in the 1st round. Alright guys, next up at featherweight, we have a really good matchup on the main card. This is the last fight on the main card. And this fight's going to open up the main card for everyone. Let's get right into it, guys. So we have Icaro Brito taking on Demison Rodrigues. Icaro Brito is 7-1 overall in his MMA career. He's 5-0 in his last 5 fights. He's 24 years old, 5 feet 10 inches tall. He trains out of Fighting Nerds. His reach is unavailable as of right now. He's going to be going up against Rodrigues, who's 8-1 in his last 5 in his MMA career. He's 5-0 in his last 5 fights. So both of these guys are on a win streak right now. Rodrigues is 23 years old. His height is unavailable. His reach is unavailable. He's trained out of Serpenti, top team, and Marazzo brothers team. Let's get into the notes that I have on these guys. So Icaro Brito, he trains with that Fighting Nerds team, who have been doing very well this year. Kyle Behalio runs that gym, I think. Anyways, he went pro back in 2019. He's been very active since then. Since 2022 June, he has fought 5 times, guys. He's fought a lot of times since then. I like seeing these young prospects staying active. He's a young prospect at 24 years old. He's very good technical striker. He stays light on his feet and throws fast kicks to the head, body, and legs. He manages distance pretty well. He seems very seasoned for a prospect with less than 10 fights. He has a lot of power when he throws his hands. I've seen him stun opponents with the first punch he throws. He will stay patient and not rush into finishing them though. He does keep a wide stance which can get his legs kicked off. Anyways, his overhand right is nasty. I've seen him sleep people with the one punch before. He's got one punch knockout power. Anyways, his only loss came in his second pro fight to Vinicius Pires, who is 8-1 now, so 2-0 in LFA himself. So he lost to him by unanimous decision. So no shame losing to Pires, who's 8-1 now and undefeated in LFA himself. Pires is the only guy to beat Caio Fernandez, who's going to be fighting on Brazil card this year against Mark DeCasey. So no shame losing to Pires, who's also a really good prospect on his own right. Anyways, let's talk about Demison Rodrigues now. I've had a hard time finding most of his fight tape. He's competed in some Serpenti top team MMA, which I've never heard of before. He's a very aggressive striker. He's on a 7-5 win streak right now. He's finishing most of those wins, only going to decision one time, guys. He's a very aggressive fighter, and his only loss, he was knocked out in the second round in his second pro fight. I mean, since that knockout loss, he has not taken on the best level of competition. His best win was in his last fight against where he was able to find a knockout over a 5-0 undefeated fellow Brazilian prospect. From the tape that I was able to find, he looked very flat-footed when he throws his strikes and does not move all that well. He stays in one place for far too long after throwing his strikes. I can see him getting countered here in this fight. Anyways, he does have a lot of power when he does connect. He's got 6 wins by knockout, 1 win by submission, and 1 win by decision. I don't think this fight's gonna go to scorecards. I'm gonna pick Icaro Brito by knockout. I think he's gonna knock him out. He's very good prospect, man. I like that he trains out of Fighting Nerds. That team has done very well. And we have seen Rodrigues get knocked out before. He got knocked out in his second pro fight back in 2018 in the second round by Carlos Silva, who's 3-1 now. I'm gonna pick Brito by knockout. I think Brito's gonna knock him out. I think it's gonna be a first round knockout for him too. Yeah, I'm gonna pick a first round knockout for Icaro Brito, guys. That's my pick for this fight. Guys, next up on the featured fight on the prelims, we have a really good matchup, a flyweight matchup between Jose Ochoa taking on Juscelino Pantoja. I mean, I gotta get familiar with these Brazilian names. I'm gonna have to pronounce these names more often since I've been making these LFA videos. Anyways, let's get right into it, guys. So Jose is 6-0 undefeated. He's 5-0 in his last 5 fights. He's 22 years old, very young prospect, 5 feet 7 inches tall. He trains out of Chute Box Diego Lima with that gym where Charles Oliveira trains also, and a lot of UFC fighters train there too. So he's getting good work done over there with some training with some really high level prospects. He's gonna be taking on Pantoja, who's 5-0 undefeated, 5-0 in his last 5 fights. He's 30 years old. He's a little bit older as a prospect. He's 5 feet 8 inches tall. He trains out of Sube de Box. I think he's got his own boxing gym that he trains out of. He's got a lot of boxing experience. I was able to do some tape study on this fight, and I was very impressed with Jose here. Let's talk about Jose Ochoa. He trains out of that Chute Box Diego Lima, where former lightweight champion Charles Oliveira and a lot of UFC fighters train out of. It's good to see these Peruvian prospects going to these top MMA gyms to train with the best guys. I know he will make a lot of big improvements training there. Anyways, training at a Chute Box to overall improve his MMA game. Jose Ochoa is a striker who's very aggressive. He puts the pressure on his opponents. He has a good kickboxing base for MMA. He's very good versatile striking. He's got very good versatile striking. He will throw some knees, leg kicks, body kicks. He will feint a kick to the leg and then go to the body. He's got very nice Muay Thai skills. He will even throw roundhouse kicks sometimes. I mean, he throws pretty much everything you can think of. Keeps his opponents guessing. He will even throw a Superman punch from time to time. Anyways, he does nice work in the clinch, a relentless pressure. He has shown good cardio. I've never really seen him slow down before. He looks very seasoned for a 22-year-old fighter. He has finished all his opponents by knockout. He has won no contest where he landed an illegal knee. That's his only no contest. Anyways, he's going to be taking on Juscelino Pantoja. Juscelino Pantoja is an undefeated Brazilian prospect with only 5 pro MMA fights. He started in MMA late, going pro back in 2020. He has fought in Chute Box Brazil for majority of his MMA fights so far. He's had 4 fights in Chute Box Brazil, which is a Brazilian promotion, MMA promotion. And he's got 3 wins there by knockout and 1 win by submission. He's also competed in boxing twice, but they did not go his way. He went to a decision the first time in boxing, lost the first time, and then in the second boxing fight, he got stopped in the second round, I think, and he had to retire from boxing. But he has been competing in combat sports from a very young age. In MMA, he's 5-0 undefeated and has knocked out most of his opponents. He has 1 win by submission, so he can definitely be successful anywhere the fight goes. He's a dangerous striker with pinpoint accuracy on his punches. He has very heavy hands. I'm a little bit on edge who I'm gonna pick here, because Pantoja is a heavy-handed striker, man. This dude throws heavy shots, and he's in his prime right now, 30 years old. And Jose Ochoa, I mean, he's very young still, and he's still not. He's only 5'7" tall, but he's very aggressive too. He does leave some openings on the feet. I can see him getting clipped in this fight. I'm gonna go with the young prospect here because I'm cheering for him kind of. But this fight could go 50-50, man, because Juscelino, I mean, this dude is a very aggressive striker. He's super accurate with it when he throws his hands, and he's got heavy hands too. And Jose Ochoa, I mean, he's still very young. He's only 22 years old, so he's still a kind of a kid. I'm gonna pick the kid here. I think Jose Ochoa, he can make some improvements. I think he's gonna be making a lot of improvements from fight to fight. And he's been way more active than Pantoja. I mean, Pantoja has had 5 fights in the last 3 years almost, and this kid, I mean, he hasn't been all that active himself either. So he hasn't fought in over. He's only had 1 fight in the last 2 years. Yeah, this is a tough one, guys. This is a tough one. A lot of people seem very confident in Chow here. But man, this is a tough one to pick. But I'm gonna pick the kid here. I think I like that he's training out of that same gym with Charles Oliveira, Bronx Oliveira. So that's my pick. I'm gonna pick him by decision. I don't think he's gonna knock him out. So a Chow by decision, guys. That's my pick here. Guys, next up, we have a women's strawweight fight between Lany Silva taking on Sarah Barwick. Let's get right into it, guys. So we have Lany Silva. She's 3-0 undefeated, 5-0 in her last 5 fights. She's had an amateur career also. She's 21 years old, very young for the MMA game. She's 5 feet 4 inches tall with a 63.8 reach. She trains at a team Lucas Minero and mascot team. She's gonna be taking Sarah Barwick, who's 2-0 in her career. She's 3-2 in her last 5 fights. She also had an amateur career where she went like 2-1. No, she had a long amateur career. She's lost most of her fights by split decision. I mean, she went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I mean, she went 4, 5, 4, 1 in the amateurs, and she lost most of her fights by split decision. So she does fight to her opponent's level, but she's gonna have the experience edge in this fight because Lany Silva's only had 1 fight, 3 fights in amateurs, but she has been finishing more girls. And I think she's got a kickboxing background too. You can see here, she's competed in kickboxing. She's gonna be the better striker here, and she's also fought in LFA twice before, and she's competed in LFA back in this year, and twice this year. So that's really good to see that she's been very active, and she beat a 5-1 prospect, and then she beat a 1-0 prospect. Sarah Barwick, she's got a pretty good striking game too. I mean, she's got power too, so she can put people out. But 0-4, hasn't fought the best level of opponents so far, and doesn't have a win over anyone that has a win. So that's not a good look for her. I mean, everyone she's beaten has no wins. This is the only girl she's beaten in the amateur that has a win. This girl's 8-2 now in the amateur. So both, I don't know who's gonna win this fight. I'm not super confident, but I like Lany Silva. I like the fact that she's fought in LFA before, and she's 21 years old. Even Barwick is only 22 years old, so Barwick's gonna have a 2-inch height advantage here. I'm gonna pick Lany Silva by decision, guys. That's my pick. Lany Silva by maybe a close decision, maybe a split decision for Lany Silva here. Hey guys, next up at heavyweight, we have a really low level heavyweight matchup between Uriel taking on Camacho. Let's get right into it, guys. So Uriel is 4-0 undefeated, 4-0 in his last 5 fights. He doesn't have 5 fights. Anyways, he's 26 years old. He trains out of Inside Muay Thai, which is a very good gym. He's going to be taking on Lucas Camacho, who's 4-0 in his last 4 fights, and he's 30 years old, a little bit older here, and he's trains out of Nova Uniao team. Both these guys train out of a pretty good gym, and I wasn't able to find any tape on Lucas Camacho, but I was able to find some tape on Guillermo. And what I will say, he has very good setups for his takedowns, and he's very well rounded. He can throw his hands. He's got good kickboxing, and he can also get the fight to the ground. But what he wants to do is get the fight to the ground and throw some nasty ground and pound. And then even if you take him down, he can definitely he's got a good Brazilian jiu-jitsu. In this fight, I mean, he was able to get a heel hook, and this is the fight that I think I watched where he got an armbar. Yeah, he got an armbar over this guy. I mean, what he did was he threw some punches at him and made him think that he was gonna strike with him. Then he took him down, went down, and took him down to the ground. And then when Guillermo was able to, they're both Guillermo. Anyways, when Guillermo Carrera was able to reverse the position, this dude just snapped a nice armbar. So he's very good on the ground. He's super slick on the ground. Even this heel hook, he got this heel hook so fast too. So yeah, he's got a really good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu game, and he trains out of a very good gym inside Muay Thai. There's a lot of fighters. Gian Nascimento is in the UFC now. He got a UFC contract this year. I mean, Ariana Carnalosi, she's probably gonna be in the UFC at some point. There's a lot of other fighters there that train also that are gonna be in the UFC at some point. But yeah, Gian Matsumoto, I remember him. He got a contract. He's undefeated, 14-0. Yeah, he's a really good prospect. So I can't wait to see him in the UFC, make his UFC debut. But yeah, from the tape that I was able to find on Guillermo, I think he's gonna win this fight. I think he's gonna get a submission win over Lucas Camacho. Lucas Camacho, I wasn't able to find any fight tape on him, but he looks like a very pretty good fighter too. He's got some submissions of his own, but this is a little bit weird. He's got some record padding or something, but he's fought in Chute Brazil, not over the best level of opponents, but he's beaten some guys who are 4-1-4, 3-5, so not the best look there. But hasn't been all that active. He hasn't fought since 2019, so he's gonna have some ring rust. He hasn't fought in 3-4 years now, so maybe that could be a problem, because this dude's been very active. He's fought in the last 2 years he's fought like 4 times. I'm gonna go Guillermo Uriel by I'm gonna say he gets a submission in the first round, guys. That's my pick. First round submission for Guillermo Uriel. Hey guys, next up on the prelims, we have a really good matchup at welterweight. We have Geovanis Palacios taking on Gabriel Ramos. Let's get right into it, guys. So Geovanni Palacios is 6-0 undefeated, 5-0 in his last 5 fights. He's 26 years old, 6 feet 2 inches tall, with the reach is unavailable. I think 77-inch reach from the fight tape that I could watch. I think it's 77-inch reach. I could be wrong, but anyways, he's gonna be taking on a Gabriel Ramos, who's 4-1 in his last 5 fights. He's 20 years old, very young prospect still, making a lot of improvements. He fights out of Escorpio fight team. Let's get into the notes that I have from. Let's talk about Geovanni Palacios. That's his name, right? Geovanni Palacios, yep. So Geovanni Palacios did have an amateur career with 2 fights. He went 2-0 in the amateurs. Then he went pro just last year in 2022 in March. He's had 6 fights since going pro in 2022 in March. So that is a lot of experience for him. He's been very active since. He's a tall, long, rangy striker who stays light on his feet. He has nice setups to his takedowns, but he's trying to get the fight to the ground. He's very strong for the weight class. He will pick up his opponents and slam them down. His striking defense does need a lot of work. He can get clipped, but he has shown pretty good chin and pretty good durability. He has never been finished. He's undefeated for a reason. He's good, very good prospect and very young still. 26 years old, I think. He is 26 years old, fighting out of Cuba. Anyways, most of his finishes come once he gets the fight to the ground, where he can get on top of his opponents and rain some nasty ground and pound. Yeah, you do not want this guy to get on top of you, because he's got some nasty vicious ground and pound. All his wins are by knockout. He's got 100% finish rate so far. Let's talk about his opponent, Gabriel Ramos, guys. Let's talk about his... Why is my eye watering? Probably from the screen. I've been watching a lot of fight tapes so far in the last couple of hours. Let's talk about his opponent, Gabriel Ramos. I got a lot of notes on him. Gabriel Ramos also had an amateur career where he's had 5 amateur fights. He went undefeated 5-0 in the amateurs. He has fought better level of competition in amateurs than his opponent Geovanis. Anyways, he went pro just last year. Also, he's had 5 pro fights since going pro. He's gone 4-0-1 since going pro. He has 3 wins by finish, 1 win by decision, and all 3 wins that he has by finish are all by submission. Anyways, he has a good ground game. He loves choking people out with the rear naked choke. All the submission wins are by rear naked choke. He is more of a wild striker, not really all that technical. He's willing to go for a lot of crazy striking techniques like flying knees, whatnot. Anyways, he will try to overwhelm his opponents with that clinch game that he has, where he will throw some nasty knees and elbows in the clinch. He's very super dangerous with that clinch game that he has. Yeah, you do not want this guy to clinch you, because he will throw some nasty knees to your face and try to put you out. Anyways, he can be very aggressive, leaving himself open to counters. He's still a very young prospect. He's only 20 years old, so he's still a very, very young prospect, and he's still got a long way to go. Anyways, he does seem very comfortable on the feet. He can definitely strike. I know a lot of people probably think he's mostly a grappler because he's got 3 wins by submission, but yeah, he can definitely strike. But he's more of a wild striker. Anyways, his grappling does need some work. He will give up positions going for some dumb submissions that may not be there. The fight where he got a weird no contest, he was absolutely destroying his opponent the whole time. He was beating him up. He was beating him up on the feet, beating him up on the ground. With his fighting style, throwing a lot of output, he does slow down in the 3rd round. If the fight goes past the 2nd round, he's gonna really slow down, and he starts breathing really hard with his mouth open. But he's still gonna fight through it. He's still gonna fight through the fatigue. Who do I think is gonna win this fight? A lot of people seem very confident on Palacios, man. But I don't know. This dude has been very active too. He's only 20 years old. Yeah, this is a tough one to pick, but this dude trains out of Fighting Nerd, so I gotta go with him. But yeah, this is a 50-50 fight. Both of these guys are very inexperienced though. Ramos has the better experience in amateurs, but he's got a nasty ground game too, so if Geovanis takes him down to the ground, he could be in some trouble too. But I'm gonna pick Geovanis Palacios by I don't know, does he get a knockout? He could. Yeah, but this is a tough fight to pick, guys. It's a really tough one to pick. But I'm gonna go with the Geovanis Palacios. I think he's just a little bit more mature. He's a little bit more tight with his game plan, and he's training out of Fighting Nerds, so I like that part for him. Geovanis by TKO ground and pound, I think. Maybe a decision, because Gabriel Ramos is super tough though. Guys, next up we have a welterweight matchup between Michael Oliveira taking on Antonio Eduardo. Let's get right into it, guys. So Michael Oliveira, PQD, that's his nickname. Anyways, he's 5-0 undefeated in his MMA career. He's 5-0 in his last 5 fights. He's finished all of them. I think he's finished all of them by knockout. He's fought on Arena Global. He's fought on Jungle Fight. Jungle Fight is a good promotion out of Brazil. He's fought on Elefate 3 times now. He finished Clever Souza by knockout. Finished Bruno Teixeira by knockout. Finished Francisco Ataliba by knockout. So this dude has heavy hands, man. He's 25 years old, 6 feet tall, with the reaches unavailable. He's gonna be taking Antonio Eduardo, who's 4-1 overall in his last 5. 4-1 in his last 5 fights. His age is unavailable. I think it's gotta be like 20. It's gotta be between 20 to 30. I think he's 6'3", 6 feet 3 inches tall with the training out of Nova Uniao. This is a pretty easy one. I'm gonna pick Michael Oliveira because Antonio has been knocked out before in the Suto Brazil, and that was a pretty nasty knockout loss that he had. It was only a year ago, 2 years ago almost. So he hasn't been all that active. He's only had one fight in the last year or so, and he's not been all that. Before that, he's only fought in the last 10 years. He's only fought 5 times. I mean, holy shit. Yeah, that's not a good look. I'm gonna go with Michael Oliveira. This dude's been super active. I mean, look at how active it's been. He's been fought in LFA 3 times. All 3 wins by knockout in the first round. I mean, all of his wins are by knockout. I mean, look at this, man. This dude is super dangerous. Hasn't been facing the cans either. I mean, he's been facing guys who have wins. It's not like he's facing guys that have 0 wins or anything. Like, the way he's just been running through people, that's pretty impressive. I think he's gonna get a first round knockout here. I'm gonna go first round knockout for Michael Oliveira, guys. That's my pick here in this fight. Alright, guys. Next up on the prelims, the second last fight on the prelims, we have a bantamweight matchup between Gabriel Silva, the Gambit, taking on Carlos Henrique, the Cruz, the Alemão. Let's get right into it, guys. Gabriel Silva is he's 29 years old, 9-3 overall in his MMA career. He's 29 years old, 5 feet 6 inches tall with a 71-inch reach. He's a former UFC fighter. He's fought in the UFC quite a long time. He got kicked out of the UFC because he went to 0-2 in the UFC. He lost to Ray Borges by decision, lost to Kyler Phillips by decision. No shame losing to Kyler Phillips. I mean, Kyler Phillips is a good prospect. And then he lost to Caio Machado. Caio Machado is a good prospect. I mean, Caio Machado just proved me wrong in his last fight and beat Ulu. I had Ulu in my parlay. I mean, he was getting his ass whooped the whole time. Ilir Bakhtiar Ulu was beating him up the whole time. And guys, what happened was this dude somehow got on top of him, jumped on his back and got a submission. I mean, he submitted him in the third. Like, he was losing the fight on the scorecards. And look, like, I didn't think he was gonna do that. This dude is an absolute problem. Even though he's 17-8 overall, this dude is an absolute problem. It's no shame losing to Caio Machado. But he's gone downhill a little bit. They're trying to build him up here, I think. He went 2-1 in LFA, 0-2 in the UFC. So no shame getting kicked out of the UFC. He's only 29 years old, so there's still a lot of time for him to get better and develop. He's going to be taking on Carlos Henrique, man. Carlos Henrique is about 9-4 overall. He's barely been fighting. He's had one fight in the last 4 years, and almost last 4.5 years only had one fight where he lost to Gian Matsumoto. Gian Matsumoto is a good prospect, but we talked about Gian Matsumoto earlier, the 14-0 undefeated UFC fighter. Now he picked up a Dana White Contender Series contract just this year over Casey Tanner. I picked Gian Matsumoto as he turned into the underdog. I remember picking him by, I think it was by decision or submission. I don't know if I picked him by decision or submission, but I remember picking him. Casey Tanner was underdog before the fight, and people were sleeping on Gian Matsumoto, but not me. So no shame losing to Gian Matsumoto, but he's also lost to Leonardo. I mean, this dude is 9-4. So they've both been on a decline lately. But he hasn't been active. I don't like seeing that. When you only have one fight in the last 5 years, it's just not a good look. It just means that you're not really concentrated. You're not really into the game anymore. You're not training all that hard anymore. You're not taking MMA game all that serious. But yeah, I'm gonna go with the Gabriel Silva here. I like the UFC experience for him. Even though he's lost, but he's tough. He's never been finished, right? He's never been knocked out or finished by submitted. And he's got 3 wins by knockout, 1 win by submission. I think Gabriel Silva gets a decision win here. I think he gets a decision over Carlos Henrique. That's my pick, guys. Decision for Gabriel Silva here. He bounces back finally. Guys, next up we have the last fight on the prelims. I think this is the prelims opener fight. They have the girls going at it. They have Gabriela Fujimoto taking on Taylor Martinelli. Let's get right into it, guys. I'll be honest, I didn't do any tape study for this fight. I don't really care that much about this fight, if I'm being honest. This is a pretty easy fight to pick. I mean, they're bringing Taylor Martinelli in here to lose to Gabriela Fujimoto. I mean, If Gabriela is 3-0 undefeated, and she's fought in LFA for most of her short career so far. She's 20 years old, very young still. She's 5 feet 3 inches tall, so still very. She's gonna be smaller, so she's gonna be at a 3-inch height disadvantage here. And Tela is 2-1 in her professional career. She's 4-1 in her last 5 fights. She's had an amateur career too. How big of an amateur career does she have? Let's see. She had 3 fights in amateurs. She went 3-0 in the amateurs. She had kickboxing experience also. She's fought in kickboxing, so you gotta think she's got good striking. But then she gets knocked out in her first fight in the pro leagues. Just not a good look. I mean, but she did bounce back and got a win over Murilo Barbosa, who's 0-1. So very low level fight here. We have here. Whoever lands the more shots is gonna win this fight, I think. That's what I think. I mean, I'm gonna go with the Gabriela Fujimoto. She seems to be taking her career more serious, and has not been knocked out. She's the one knocking girls out. So I'm gonna pick this girl, this Asian-looking girl. She's Brazilian. My bad. I don't know why I said Asian. Anyways, I'm gonna pick her. I think she gets does she get a knockout win? I'm gonna say she gets a submission. I mean, she got a good submission game too. But I think most people are taking her by decision. Maybe she gets a decision win, but I think it's gonna be a submission. Yeah, my pick is a submission win for Gabriela Fujimoto, guys. So those are the picks, guys. Don't forget to leave a like down below if you guys appreciate the content. I'm one of the few people that even make LFA content, LFA full card breakdowns. Some people just make the main card, some people just do whatever. Most people don't even take LFA all that serious, so it really helps out with it when you guys drop a like down below. It really helps out with the YouTube algorithm. And don't forget to subscribe, guys. We're trying to hit 500 subscribers. I'm going to be doing a small giveaway to someone that one of my subscribers, so don't forget to hit the sub button down below and leave a like and comment down below. Just leave a W in the comments if you don't know what else to say, and it really helps out with the YouTube algorithm, guys. And don't forget to leave a like down below. Once again, take care of yourself, guys, and I'll see you guys in the next one. And I'll probably be making more LFA content throughout the week next week. And take it easy, guys. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you guys in the next one. I gotta upload this video. It's gonna take me over 2 hours just to process because it's almost an hour long. Alright, guys, I'm out now. I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.